The story opens in a grand mansion where a maid offers to take a stack of reports from Liad. He declines her help, insisting on delivering the documents to his mother personally since he plans to visit her anyway. It has been 1,000 years since the ritual of reincarnation, and 8 years since the guardian knight Vance of the Heavenly Empire was reborn into this new life as Liad. Reaching his destination, Liad knocks and enters, greeting his foster mother, the Fialis Countess Muria. As he looks at her, he suddenly flinches, sensing a spark of energy. She quickly apologizes, realizing her immense mana caused her charm magic to activate involuntarily. She notes that despite his mana being transparent and colorless, he possesses enough strength to defend against her accidental spell. She laments that she is a lacking mother for burdening him, but he immediately reassures her. He expresses his deep gratitude to her for adopting him from the monastery and vows to do anything for her sake. Overjoyed by his words, she pulls him into a tight, suffocating hug. Their moment is interrupted when a young girl barges in, demanding to know what they are doing. This is Canon Fiales, Mayuria's daughter. She complains that Liad is hogging their mother's attention when she had been waiting patiently for her to rest. The Countess apologizes and invites her closer, and Canon happily embraces her mother. Liad observes that while his little sister is extremely affectionate toward Muria, she is quite cold toward him. Turning to him, Canon dismissively mentions that a maid has prepared tea and suggests he go have some. Muria gently asks why she refuses to call him Big Brother, but Canon waves the suggestion off. She declares she will only use that title if something happens to make her want to, pointing out that he refuses to show her his magic. She is frustrated that she doesn't even know what color his mana is. Muria explains that colorless mana makes it impossible to tell what element a mage possesses, though she admits she is also curious to see his power. Liad vaguely replies that he might show them if the opportunity arises, though internally he simply wishes he could get along better with her. Canon fiercely hugs her mother, declaring that Muria belongs to her and refusing to let anyone take her away. Unsure how to handle his sister's intense possessiveness, Liad awkwardly excuses himself, stating he is going to have some tea. Later, Liad relaxes outside as Marietta, the head maid who also oversees the siblings' education, serves him. He compliments the magnificent flavor of the tea and invites her to join him for a cup. She initially refuses, insisting he shouldn't pay heed to a mere maid, but he persists. He playfully argues that since she teaches him so many other subjects, she should also teach him about tea while they drink together. Realizing he is simply trying to give her a break, she sighs with a smile and takes a seat, admitting he knows exactly how to invite a lady. As they talk, Marietta explains the origins of their refreshments. The sugar loaf is from the human empire, and the tea leaves are imported from the Holy Empire. She reflects that such international trade is only possible because of the anti-war domain, a barrier created 1,000 years ago that ended the war between the 7 empires. Her words send Liad into a deep reverence as he recalls his past life. A millennium ago, he was a knight serving the heavenly emperor, Ars Maria Rune Media. He remembers the majesty of her visage and the pride he felt serving her. To stop the bloodshed, she sacrificed her own lifespan to cast the anti-war domain. Before the end, they decided to undergo the ritual of reincarnation, so they could one day see the peaceful world with their own eyes. Now, living as Liad after being adopted by Countess Muria, he is still searching for her. Marietta interrupts his thoughts, noticing he has drifted off again. She shrewdly guesses that he is worried about his relationship with Canon. She suggests that since a guest is arriving soon, he should try talking to his sister while they wait in the parlor. He thanks her for the advice and rushes over. Finding Canon at the parlor entrance, he politely opens the door and gestures for her to head in first. She hesitates at the door but manages to thank him. He immediately takes her hand, guiding her inside with the polite phrase, "This way, my lady." The gesture shocks her and she pulls away, shouting that there is no need to go that far. He apologizes, realizing his mistake. He recalls that Arsmeria used to get angry at him for being too formal as well. Softening her tone, Canon admits she snapped because she was worried. Time with their mother is precious and having a guest reduces that time. He smiles, noting how much she truly loves Muria. She excitedly agrees and asks if he feels the same. When he confirms he does, they share a brief moment of understanding. Suddenly the door opens and the guest enters. It is Victor Roswald, the eldest son of a viscount serving under the countess. Liad extends a hand to greet him, but Victor completely ignores him, walking past to greet Canon instead. Liad realizes he is being snubbed for being an adopted child. She returns the greeting politely but immediately attempts to dismiss herself, stating she has fulfilled her duty and wishes to return to her room so the two men can enjoy themselves. Victor flinches and quickly stops her, insisting he came specifically to discuss her magic. Kanan halts in her tracks. The guest continues, noting that as the esteemed daughter of Countess Muria, she must possess outstanding talent, even though her hair and eyes do not resemble her mother's. He remarks that since she will one day inherit the title, he wishes to see her power for himself. Liad recognizes this as a clear provocation. Although Kanan looks displeased, he can see she intends to accept the challenge. She asks how he would like her to demonstrate her power. Smirking, Victor suggests the parlor is inappropriate for magic and leads them outside to a clearing in the forest. Once they arrive, Victor explains that the Fialis family has a tradition of a trial by magic to measure one's strength. He assures her they won't fight for real. She simply needs to show him her power. He then turns to Liad, asking why he followed them. The former knight calmly replies that since this is a trial and not a duel, his presence shouldn't be an issue. Victor sneers, reminding him that he is not related to the Countess by blood, but allows him to stay as long as he doesn't interfere. Liad remains on guard, convinced the other is planning something, given that he singled Kanan out and lured her into this secluded spot. Victor suddenly adds a condition to the trial. If he wins, he wants a request granted. Kanan questions this, noting she thought he only wanted a demonstration. He argues that a direct battle is the simplest way to measure strength and taunts her, asking if she plans to run away. She coldly replies that she looks down on individuals who use such coercive methods. Dismissing her words with a laugh, Victor unleashes an evil spirit without even announcing the start. Kanan freezes in terror, closing her eyes as the entity rushes toward her. At the last second, Liad intervenes, blasting the spirit away with his own magic. He fiercely condemns Victor for launching a sneak attack, asking if this dishonorable conduct befits a noble he holds in such high esteem. Victor is momentarily shaken but quickly masks his fear with a hesitant laugh. He accuses Liad of breaking the rules by interfering. The brother counters that a sneak attack cannot be considered a proper contest. If Victor intends to use underhanded tactics, he will protect Kanan regardless of the rules because she is family. Annoyed, Victor sneers, mocking Liad's weak, colorless mana and calling him a random mongrel who doesn't deserve to be the Countess's child. Before he can finish the insult, Kanan shouts at him to stop slandering her big brother, stepping forward to defend him. Victor laughs at her use of the title, ridiculing their family as a bunch of unrelated strangers playing house. Suddenly, Victor's hand begins to shake violently. The charm he is holding surges with dark energy, draining his mana uncontrollably until he collapses. Liad realizes the magic tool has gone berserk and is summoning all the contained evil spirits at once. Kanan watches in horror as a swarm of multicolored spirits emerges. Liad places a hand on her shoulder, asking her to trust him. He explains that since her magic falls under the healing branch, she is at a disadvantage against spirits of multiple elements. Refusing to let her get hurt, he transfers a glowing energy into her, causing the color of her mana to change. Victor snaps at them, demanding to know what they are whispering about. In a blind rage, he hurls one of the evil spirits directly at the siblings. Kanan reacts instinctively, opening her arms to release a glowing orb that expands into a protective shield. Victor is baffled, recognizing the barrier as a shield of flame, an impossibility for a mage known only for healing. Kanan herself is amazed, realizing she is wielding her big brother's power. Refusing to accept this, Victor sneers that a flickering flame will be easily smothered by a gale. He commands more spirits to attack, but she deftly defeats them all. Watching her dodge and cancel out his attacks with a shield of wind, he is struck by disbelief. He finally understands the nature of Liad's colorless mana. It is not empty, but rather holds the potential to shift into any element. Liad suddenly warns Kanan that an earth spirit is attacking from below, instructing her to dodge and counter. The ground trembles, but she successfully executes the move. When she asks how he predicted the attack, he simply tells her to relax and let the flow of mana guide her. Following his advice, she uses the shield of wind to launch herself into the air, effectively flying. Victor glares menacingly, desperate to turn the tide. He unleashes his remaining spirits of water and darkness, shouting that they have yet to be used. However, Kanan extends both hands, forming dual barriers that effortlessly obliterate the threats. As she lands gracefully, Liad declares that all the spirits have been defeated. Defeated, Victor looks down, muttering that his father assured him this method would beat her. She retorts that while he relied on his father's power, she made use of her big brother's magic. Liad gently corrects her, insisting that she was only able to ward off the spirits because of her own strength, and declares her the winner. Victor snaps. Blaming Liad for his failure, he draws a dagger and charges. The former knight clenches his fist, disgusted by how far the noble has trampled on the chivalric code, and vows not to forgive him. Liad analyzes the movement of muscle and bone, visualizing the path of the lunging short sword. He utilizes the Guardian Art Fist form, shield of the weaponless knight, allowing the attack's momentum to run its course with minimal force. With this technique, the former knight dodges Victor's strike and counters, sending the noble rolling across the ground. Victor screams, calling him a monster. Liad notices a small scratch on his cheek from the blade. Kanan rushes to him, crying out, "Big brother!" He dismisses it as a minor injury, but she touches his cheek, tears falling as she insists that him getting hurt is the same as her getting hurt. She casts healing magic on him. Liad marvels internally that despite her exhaustion from the fight, she is such a kind little angel. Suddenly, Kanan blushes, flustered that he called her an angel. She reveals she can hear his voice in her head, and adds that earlier it felt like their mana had merged. Liad explains he used mana induction to link their minds. During the brief moment she trusted him earlier, they formed a protection contract, allowing him to match his mana to hers. He thanks her for fighting alongside him and vows to continue protecting her. She smiles and returns the sentiment, demanding he not get hurt. They share a laugh, promising to look out for one another until she comes of age. Liad glances at the unconscious Victor and suggests they return to the mansion to deal with the aftermath. Back at the residence, they report the incident to Marietta. The headmaid is shocked, but relieved the siblings are safe. She immediately orders subordinates to hurry to the forest and retrieve Victor. She then informs them that Countess Muria will soon hold a direct meeting with Viscount Roswald regarding this matter, and asks the children to return to their rooms. However, Liad requests permission to observe the meeting. Marietta takes him to a private room and offers him a seat. She produces a cloth inscribed with a magic circle that links to other rooms, allowing him to listen in. When Liad asks if this counts as eavesdropping, the maid explains that this recording room is designed to monitor the family head's duties. Since Muria has selected him as her child, Marietta wants him to witness and learn the heavy responsibilities of a countess. Liad watches intently, his thoughts focused on his mother. Meanwhile, Viscount Roswald, Victor's father, presents his monthly financial report to Muria. He boasts that among the 3 Viscounts serving under her, the Roswald territory has developed the most. He attempts to conclude the meeting, but the Countess stops him. She points out a suspicious discrepancy. His land is developing and the population is increasing, yet the reported tax revenue remains stagnant. When the Viscount reacts defensively, shouting that she doesn't trust him, Myria reveals she took the liberty of investigating the matter herself. The revenue did increase, but he failed to report it. She sternly questions if he understands the duty of a noble pledged to the Heavenly Empire. She exposes his plot, submitting falsified reports to hoard wealth and strengthen his own sector, intending to eventually break away from the Fial's household. She condemns him for his ambition, noting that he didn't even hesitate to use his own son as a tool to prove his strength. Back in the meeting room, Viscount Roswald realizes his scheme has been exposed but immediately tries to shift the blame. He curses internally, thinking that Victor failed him, before shouting that he never instructed his son to do such a thing. He claims his son is a fool whose burning desire to bear the future of the Fial's territory led him to act harshly. Trying to justify the attack, the nobleman argues that the Fial's lineage specializes in healing magic, which is unsuited for combat. He claims Victor only challenged Kanan to prove that the Roswald family is capable of covering for her weaknesses. With a haughty attitude, he insists that the Countess needs a proper noble lineage to act as her shield, rather than relying on a child of unknown origin like Liad. Muria calmly shuts down his argument. She reveals that Kanan's lineage is actually that of light magic, not just simple healing. She asserts that in the future, her daughter will attain the power necessary to protect herself. The Countess declares that gender plays no part in who protects and who needs protection. Nobles must fight for their own pride, honor, and most importantly, their citizens. Smirking, she adds that her children, both Kanan and Liad, are far more qualified to inherit that will than the Viscount's son, citing the recent duel as undeniable proof. She gathers the documents on her desk and delivers her verdict. Regarding Victor, he will be sent to a strict education facility to be re-educated. As for the Viscount, she has already passed his case regarding the tax fraud to the Imperial investigators. She dismisses him, stating she has nothing left to say. Enraged, Roswald slams his hand onto the table. He shouts at her to know her place, insulting her as a little girl who only inherited her position through pure luck after the previous family head passed away. Muria remains silent, her expression blank. Suddenly, the Viscount freezes. He feels an overwhelming pressure crushing his body. To his eyes, the Countess's aura expands until she appears giant, while he feels as small as an insect sitting on her finger. She looks down on him with pity, noting the absolute difference in their strength. Crushed by her magical pressure, he collapses to the floor in defeat. Meanwhile, inside the recording room, Liad senses the massive surge of power. A moment later, there's a knock at the door. Marietta opens it to reveal Muria. The headmaid bows, praising her mistress for controlling herself and not causing physical harm to the Viscount. Muria turns to her adopted son, acknowledging that he heard everything. She admits that while she has pretended to be a kind foster mother, it wouldn't be unjust to say she originally adopted him to act as a shield for Kanan. However, Liad steps forward and interrupts her. He declares that listening to her today made him proud to be her son. He acknowledges that many are unhappy with his presence, but he wishes to stay and protect this family. He vows to protect his sister until she comes of age, and promises to become strong enough to protect his mother as well. Mioria looks down, telling him not to worry about her because she is strong, but she wipes away a tear, admitting that his words make her incredibly happy. Just then, another knock interrupts the emotional moment. Marietta opens the door to find Kanan standing there. The mother immediately apologizes, sorry that her daughter had to go through such a terrifying experience in the forest. Kanan shakes her head and runs to hug her, beaming. She insists she wasn't scared at all because her big brother saved her. Mayuria smiles and extends her hand toward Liad, inviting him in. He hesitates, unsure if he belongs, but Marietta encourages him to go to them. As he joins the hug, the Countess reaches out and pulls the headmaid into the embrace as well. Kanan cheers, declaring that from here on out, they are one big family. The group laughs, and the young girl suggests that she and Liad take a bath together. The chapter concludes with the siblings and their mother bonding over a warm bath, cementing their new family dynamic. Inside the grand bathroom, Muria notices that Liad's hair has grown since they last bathed together, and asks if she should trim it for him. Kanan eagerly agrees with the idea. Liad, however, feels quite hesitant. He thinks it would be better if he waited until the women were finished, but just as he attempts to excuse himself, Marietta appears behind him. The headmaid places a hand on his shoulder, asking if he is ready. Liad jolts, startled by her sudden appearance, and scolds her for sneaking up on him. She apologizes but notes that his face is flushed, asking if he has a fever. He insists he is fine, but she teases that he feels warm and ushers him inside. Realizing he cannot fight against the flow of events, he gives in. Inside the steam-filled room, Miuria helps Kanan shower. The young girl calls out to Liad, asking if he is behind her. When he confirms he is, she excitedly asks their mother if she can wash her big brother's back. Muria grants permission, noting it has been a while since they bonded like this. Marietta offers to assist as well. Liad feels trapped in the circle of three women, but eventually settles down. Kanan asks where she should start. Internally, Liad thinks she looks like a miniature angel. He suggests she start with his hand. As she scrubs his hand, she sweetly remarks that these are the hands that protected her. Watching them, Muria smiles, telling the headmaid how glad she is that the siblings get along. Marietta agrees, noting that since the Countess had long worried about their relationship, this moment is incredibly emotional. Once Kanan finishes, Myria steps in, declaring it is her turn. She admits she had started to fear he would never bathe with her again. Liad gets nervous, but she simply smiles, calling herself a greedy mother. She pours shampoo and begins scrubbing his head, noting that his bangs are getting long and threatening to cover his eyes. She promises to cut it later. Although Liad is slightly uncomfortable, Muria playfully praises him for being a good, obedient boy today. Later, back in his room, Liad collapses onto his bed, finally catching his breath after the stressful social interaction. He picks up a book to research the forest where the trial by magic took place, as he had sensed a powerful presence there. He reads an entry about a magical beast, Bastet, the king of cats and ancient guardian deity. He realizes this entity resides within that forest. Suddenly, a knock interrupts his research. Marietta enters to announce that dinner is prepared. Liad leaves the book on the bed and heads to the dining hall. During the meal, Kana notices sauce around Liad's mouth and wipes it off for him. He thanks her with a smile. Muria teases Marietta, saying it looks like Kanan has stolen the headmaid's job. Marietta replies that while she is reluctant to relinquish the duty, she has other responsibilities to attend to. Liad eats the white fish and sorbet, analyzing the flavors. He notes that the culinary arts have definitely improved over the last 1,000 years. Mayoria watches him intently, thinking that his face suddenly looks very mature when he tastes the food. Kanan suddenly speaks up, saying she will only eat half her portion. Liad tells her not to force herself. He realizes she is finally opening up to him about her struggles. She lifts her plate, offering the rest to him. He accepts it, praising her for trying, though he jokes that she doesn't look so good. She promises that next time, she will help him eat things he dislikes. Touched by their sibling bond, both Muria and Marietta start crying. Inspired, Kanan announces she wants to learn how to cook, so she can turn dishes she dislikes into something she enjoys. Muria excitedly offers to help, but Marietta gently reminds the Countess to prioritize her main duties as the head of the house. Muria promises to finish her work first and tells Kanan they will learn to make delicious dishes to dazzle Liad. Watching them, Liad allows himself to bask in this happiness, but he knows it cannot last forever. His thoughts drift to Ars Maria. He wonders if she has reincarnated in this world as well. He realizes the only one with the power to help him find her is his mother. He stares intensely at Muria, causing her to twitch uneasily under his gaze. Later that evening, Muria calls out to him. She sensed his stare earlier and realizes he has something he wishes to discuss. She instructs him to come by her study before he turns in for the night. Later that night, Liad heads to the study as requested. Suddenly, hands cover his eyes from behind. He calmly excuses himself to his mother. Muria lowers her hands to his shoulders, pouting slightly that she hoped to surprise him, but admits he is too sharp. She thanks him for protecting Kanan earlier and apologizes for being unavailable due to dealing with Viscount Roswald. Liad assures her there is no need to apologize. Protecting his sister is his duty, and he would have done it regardless of instructions. Muria smiles, noting that she didn't just call him here to apologize. She sensed he had something weighing on his mind and tells him they can stay up late to talk. After a moment of thought, Liad confesses that he is searching for someone, a person he must find at all costs. Muria agrees to help and asks for the name. However, as Liad attempts to speak the name Ars Maria, he feels a sensation like a chain wrapping tightly around his neck. His voice fails him. He realizes with horror that the words are physically blocked from leaving his mouth. He wonders if this is a cost exacted by the ritual of reincarnation, a curse or contract forbidding him from speaking of his previous life. Desperate, he tries to write the name, but his hand trembles uncontrollably. He looks toward a history book, thinking he can point to her name, but as he extends his arm, his hand feels as though it is splitting apart. Seeing his distress, Muria hugs him from behind. She whispers for him not to force himself, assuring him that if it hurts, he doesn't need to say it. Liad apologizes, but she reminds him that he said the same thing to her earlier, lightening her burden. She uses a little magic to calm his anxiety, and he feels his body relax, thanking her for her incredible spell. Regaining his composure, Liad asks if there is a way to search for a person, even if he cannot speak their name. Muria confirms there is. She opens the window to the clear night sky and tells him to wait. She explains that the Fials family possesses a secret grimoire passed down for generations. Soon after, they head outside the castle. Liad apologizes again for making her stay up all night when she is already busy. Muria replies that she is having fun strolling through the night with him, and suggests they hold hands so he doesn't fall. He agrees, and they walk hand in hand to the ritual site. Iliad asks about the time frame of the grimoire. Muria explains it was passed to her from her father. She doesn't know who wrote it or when, but the magic inscribed within is still potent. They arrive at a massive, ancient magic circle drawn on the ground. Muria clarifies she didn't draw it. It has been there for years. She recites the purpose. To the heaven, cast your question. From heaven's canopy, read the answer. Liad recognizes the term heaven's canopy as the atmospheric layer covering the world. Myeria looks up, stating that the canopy displays more than just stars. They will use the magic circle to read the answer he seeks. Kneeling on the ground, she explains that the ritual first requires blood to determine the searcher, but she hesitates to injure his finger. Liad immediately pricks his own finger, letting a drop fall onto the circle, telling her not to worry about a small wound. Muria takes his hand, chiding him gently, and uses magic to heal the cut completely. With the searcher determined, Miuria opens the grimoire to begin the incantation. She instructs him to hold a strong mental image of the person he is searching for. Liad closes his eyes. He visualizes the figure on the other side of the blinds, recalling her clear, bell-like voice, the feeling of her fingers, and the vow they exchanged. Suddenly, Miuria shouts in alarm. The mana is starting to disperse. The ritual is failing. Liad refuses to give up. He thinks that even if the gods seek to bar his path, he will find her. He internally screams his identity. "My name is Liad Fiales. The one I seek is Arsmeria." Responding to his will, a light shines above them, growing brighter and brighter. Miuria declares that the light represents the person he seeks, proving she is in this world. Liad is relieved that they were reincarnated in the same age. However, the light suddenly vanishes. Liad panics, but Miuria corrects him. The light did not vanish, it wandered. In fact, it split into 6 separate lights. She explains that this means there are 6 people, or 6 locations he is looking for. Liad watches the trajectory of the lights, realizing they have scattered toward the great powers of the world: the Holy Empire, the Demon Empire, the Human Empire, the Ogre Empire, the Beast Empire, and the Dragon Empire. Despite this complication, he renews his resolve. Even if she is split across the world, he vows to find Arsmeria. The story shifts to the past, specifically the year 1014 of the Heavenly Empire era. Across the continent, 7 empires wage an unceasing war. Vance, a young knight, kneels before his master, responding to an imperial command. Sitting before him is Arsmeria Rune Media. She gazes out, stating she wishes to see a world free from conflict. She asks Vance how he thinks the world would change if wars were to disappear. The question catches him off guard. He apologizes, admitting that he lacks the imagination to envision a future worthy of presenting to Her Majesty. She laughs gently, telling him she does not mind. Since he is unable to imagine that future, she promises that, as his master, she will paint that picture for him. This marks the first meeting between Liad's past self and the Heavenly Emperor. Years come and go. Suddenly, a shout rises from the crowd outside the mansion. Her Majesty has finally activated the anti-war barrier. Vance dashes inside the castle, praying that the spell is capable of stopping the war and hoping he can make it in time. However, just as he reaches the corridor leading to Arsmeria, someone blocks his path. It is Freed, another high-ranking knight. Freed confirms Vance is heading to see her, and clenches his teeth in rage. He demands to know why Vance didn't stop her or explain the truth, that the method of ending the war would come at the cost of their master's life. He shouts that Guardians should never have accepted such a method. By completing the barrier to secure the future she desired, Arsmeria has sacrificed her own lifespan and is now bedridden. Freed asks Vance if he can still hold his head high and claim to be her guardian knight. He warns that if Vance cannot, he will have to go through him to reach her. Vance looks at his comrade calmly. With a faint smile, he tells Freed that he wishes to entrust the future to him. He declares that Freed will protect the new emperor as the captain of the knights. Freed stands frozen, remembering their childhood when they used to play with wooden swords. He looks down, admitting he wanted to compete with Vance again. Vance shakes his head, stating there is no need for that anymore, as everyone already respects Freed. He walks past his old friend without looking back. Freed mutters bitterly that compared to Vance, he still has a long way to go. Vance enters Arsmeria's chamber. As he approaches her bedside, she calls his name. She admits she thought that even after completing the barrier, she would be able to continue her duties as the Heavenly Emperor for a while, yet her body has already failed her. Vance tries to offer hope. He reports that Her Majesty's power has led the other 6 empires to propose peace negotiations, and an imperial conference will be held soon. He asks if she is truly certain she cannot hold out longer. Arsmeria smiles sadly, revealing that her spirit will dissipate within a few hours. She wonders if it has already been 4 years since they first spoke of peace. Vance regrets that this parting has come far too soon. Arsmeria, however, worries about the future. She questions if a barrier is truly enough to end the war, fearing that the hatred and conflict cultivated over countless years will not vanish simply because fighting is physically prevented. This is her final regret. Vance notes that she sounds as if she has finished her duty, despite the maids outside the room crying for her. Arsmeria sits up slightly, asking why he is not crying. Vance replies that he will not mourn because his life belongs to her. As long as she draws breath, he serves her. He asks her to allow him the chance to challenge the ritual of reincarnation with her. He vows to stay by her side and see the same sights she sees, whether it be 100 or 200 years from now. No matter how much time passes, his desire will never change. Ars Maria calls him a fool, the biggest fool in the entire world. She asks what makes him so confident, noting that even here at the very end, he still refuses to put his feelings into words. Vance simply smiles, saying, "That is because their story has yet to end." They hold hands as the light fades. Back in the present, Leod processes the revelation. 1,000 years ago, he relied on secret magic to search for Ars Maria's soul. The ritual showed the light splitting into six, meaning her soul has fragmented into 6 pieces. However, Leod steals his resolve. He refuses to give up. He vows to find Ars Maria, even if that means finding her through multiple people. Time passes, and Leod has grown, his physique becoming more defined with age. One day, while walking through the forest, he hears a rustle and immediately identifies the source. A shadow leaps down from the trees above, revealing a large cat-like beast monster. Leod smiles and dodges the creature's attack using the Guardian Art First form, Nazi, moving effortlessly like a bird crossing a stormy sea. The resulting burst of energy cuts through the air, leaving deep slash marks on the surrounding trees. When the dust settles, Leod realizes he has been lured into a trap. He is standing at the edge of a cliff with nowhere to run. Behind him, the beast reappears, extending sharp claws to slash into his back. The attack lands, and Leod shouts in agony, but a moment later his figure vanishes into thin air. The beast is shocked. Leod has utilized the Guardian Art second form Shadow, creating a decoy to reflect a potential future. The real Leod drops from the trees above, declaring that there's always a way out. Up. He lands squarely on the beast's back, pinning it down. He smirks, noting that it looks like he won today, Bastet, the king of cats. Bastet is annoyed. He complains that he was sure he would have Leod for dinner, but the boy simply played with him from beginning to end. He asks how long Leod plans to sit on him. Leod apologizes, but jokes that he couldn't help it, as he always wanted to try riding him. Bastet observes that the boy has grown strong since they first met 8 years ago, and asks why he continues to visit the depths of the forest. Leod reminds him of what he said years ago. He genuinely wants to be friends. Bastet sighs, agreeing to listen to him since he brought catnip wine. Leod reveals that tomorrow he will head to the World Magic Academy to take the entrance exam. He has passed the preliminary reviews and will be entering as his sister's guard. Bastet assumes this means their game is over and this is their final meeting. However, Leod surprises him by asking if he would like to come along to the academy. The beast is shocked by the invitation. He asks why Leod is so strange and demands to know who he exactly is. However, Bastet concedes that if Leod promises to eventually tell him the truth, he is not against joining them. Leod laughs, relieved that they can continue sparring, and thanks Tit. Bastet grumbles that he never liked that nickname. The next morning, Leod heads to the kitchen, hoping to be in time for breakfast. He is greeted by a delicious fragrance. Conan is at the stove making soup. She asks her brother to taste it for her. He accepts the small plate and takes a sip. His eyes widen and he praises the rich flavor, noting how the meat and vegetables have merged perfectly. Conan beams at the compliment. When Leod asks if he can help, she asks him to set the table. Once the food is ready, the table is filled with dishes Conan prepared herself. She leads the grace, offering thanks from the Fial's family to the heavens for their nourishment. After breakfast, the siblings stand outside the mansion, ready to depart. Marietta and the other maids gather to see them off. The head maid tells them to be careful, while the others sob openly. Leod reassures them that this is not goodbye and promises they will return someday. Conan tears up, thanking Marietta and everyone for their love. The maids rush to hug her. Meanwhile, Marietta steps up to Leod to fix his buttons. She instructs him to keep his collar and necktie straight at all times, reminding him that a gentleman must take care of his appearance. He nods, vowing not to bring shame to the Fial's name. As they start to leave, Conan pauses and points to the large creature waiting nearby, asking about the big cat. Leod introduces Bastet as a friend and the king of cats, explaining that he will get them to school faster than a carriage. Bastet observes Leod's younger sister, noting he has heard much about her. Leod climbs onto the beast's back and extends a hand to help Conan up. Bastet warns them that although he is fast, it will take some time to reach the destination, so they should hold on tight. Conan settles in and cheers. All right, let's go onward to the magic school. Bastet leaps into the air, flying off as the maids wave goodbye from the ground below. Once on the ground, Leod dismounts and asks Conan if she can get down by herself. She confidently says yes, but immediately slips, sliding off the beast's side. Leod catches her just in time. asking if she is okay. She admits she is not. The surrounding crowd begins to whisper, wondering if the reliable man holding the noble girl is a servant, or perhaps a lover enrolling together. Blushing furiously, Conan begs him to let her down because everyone is staring. Liad apologizes to Bastet for the commotion. Suddenly, a massive purple aura dominates the sky. A woman riding a massive demon beast demands the path be cleared for her quick and slender dragon. This is the Demon Empire Princess, Aurelis Grantschalk. Blocking her path is another girl who argues that the person proceeding forward has the right of way, and that meaningless conflict goes against the goddess's will. This is the Holy Empire Princess, Erisiel Rosenkrantz. Liad observes the standoff. He notices the gathering of royalty. The Holy and Demon Princesses are front and center, but he also spots the Beast Prince, the Dragon Princess, and the Human Princess nearby. Only the Ogre Princess seems to be missing. He realizes the imperial families of every empire have gathered at this school. He worries that the 1,000-year-old conflict between the Holy and Demon Empires could flare up here. If they butt heads now, amidst all these nations, it could escalate from an entrance exam dispute into an international incident. Aurelis smirks, suggesting they settle their grudge right here rather than prolonging it. Erisiel retorts that the demon is reaching beyond her ability, reminding her that holy magic breaks through demon magic. She also mocks Aurelis for taking the exam at only 13 years old. The demon princess fires back, claiming that despite the age difference, Erisiel looks much younger than her. Enraged, Erisiel levitates, calling upon the goddess to blind all sinners as energy sparks behind her. Aurelis counters, summoning the blood of Grandschalk and surrounding herself with dark energy. Just as Erisiel prepares chains of punishment, and Aurelis prepares to serve a crimson fate, a sharp snap echoes through the air. Both princesses collapse to the ground, their magic fizzling out. Liad has secretly utilized Guardian Art's second form, using resonating energy waves to create a living silence. The princesses are baffled. Aurelis complains her magic didn't activate, and Erisiel insists she chanted the spell correctly. Conan whispers to her brother, asking if he did something. Liad admits he did, explaining that he nullified their incantations by sharpening the sound echo to break up the fight before the worst-case scenario occurred. Aurelis sighs that this puts a damper on things. However, the tension breaks slightly. Erisiel apologizes for bringing up the demon's age, admitting that even though she is older, she is also enrolling early. Aurelis smiles, appreciating how pure the Holy Princess is. They agree to settle this later, but Aurelis notes with irritation that an unrefined stranger got in their way. Liad panics internally, realizing he might have stood out too much. He quickly urges Kanan to move along before they are noticed further. The students gather at the assembly hall where a video projection of the vice principal, Matilda Lindworm, begins to play. She formally welcomes everyone, noting that while they have passed the preliminary appraisal, acceptance is not yet guaranteed. She explains a special condition regarding the imperial families. To allow them to keep their abilities hidden, they are exempt from the public mana evaluation. However, all other examinees must undergo the test immediately at the Crystal Colosseum in groups of 5. Liad listens intently, realizing that powerful mana users from all over the world have gathered here. He steels his resolve, determining that he must pass this exam no matter what, as this gathering of elites is his best chance to find a clue regarding Ars Meria. Beside him, Kanan takes a deep breath. She smiles nervously, hoping that if she tries her best, she might be placed in the same class as her brother. Liad returns the smile and suggests they head outside for a moment to clear their heads before the examination begins. As they move through the crowded hallway, Kanan accidentally bumps into a stranger. The man catches her, smoothly telling the pretty lady to watch her step. Before Kanan can apologize, a girl standing behind the man shouts insolently, demanding Kanan get her filthy hands off Lord Jild. The man raises a hand to silence his subordinate, Verona, and turns his full attention back to Kanan. He introduces himself as Jild Grousel, the third son of a marquis from the Demon Empire. He introduces his companions, Verona and Vargas, explaining that their rudeness stems from their intense loyalty and desire for him to win. Jild then inquires about Kanan's pedigree. When she answers that the Fial's family holds the rank of Count, his attitude visibly shifts. Realizing his family outranks hers, he drops the formal politeness, noting that she doesn't need to be so stiff around him. Despite the difference in status, he falls to one knee, entranced by her beauty, and invites her to dine with him alone. Kanan is uncomfortable and tries to refuse. Liad steps forward to intervene, but Jild cuts him off, coldly asking if the Heavenly Empire allows servants to speak back to their superiors. Liad stands his ground. He clarifies that he is not a servant, but Liad Fialis, Kanan's older brother. He states that while he respects the nobility of his own country, he has no obligation to obey a marquis from a foreign nation without question. The air grows tense. Jild scoffs, implying that the Demon Empire, led by a strong emperor, is currently superior to the Heavenly Empire, which lacks a ruler. Staring Liad down, Jild declares that the examination will soon reveal who is truly superior. He turns to leave with his retainers, tossing a final comment to Kanan that he hopes she passes so they can meet again on stage. Kanan maintains a polite smile until they are out of earshot, then immediately explodes in rage. She rants about his nerve, furious that he tried to sweet-talk her while looking down on Liad. She fiercely declares that Liad is the world's #1 brother. Liad laughs at her sudden switch in demeanor, silently vowing that no matter who shows up, he will protect her. Later, taking a break outside the testing hall, Liad and Kanan relax with a small tea party. Kanan sips her drink, wondering if their mother went through the same exam process in the past. Liad nods, suggesting she likely did. Kanan realizes that if they pass, that would technically make their mother their upperclassman. The thought lights a fire in her. She declares that they absolutely must pass now. Liad reflects on their mother's history. Miria, being the incredible maid she is, first attended an aristocratic school within the Heavenly Empire. However, as an honor student at age 15, she received a recommendation and transferred to the World Magic Academy. She ranked second in her year, but had to withdraw after only 1 year to return home and inherit the household. The conversation shifts back to the present and Kanan's mood sours. She complains about Jild, unable to believe his arrogant attitude despite Liad's mana being colorless and invisible to the naked eye. Liad tries to calm her, explaining that Jild's magic belongs to the fire branch, which naturally makes it showy. Kanan huffs, muttering that his magic is as stifling as his personality. Internally, Liad analyzes Jild's retainers. Verona possesses poison magic, while Vargas belongs to the earth branch. Interestingly, Liad senses that Vargas actually possesses power that rivals, or perhaps even exceeds, his master Jild. It seems the demon noble's path will not be as easy as he thinks. Kanan breaks his train of thought, beaming at him. She tells Liad that his magic is far prettier than anyone else's. Liad smiles gently, returning the compliment. Kanan blushes, thanking him for praising her mana control. However, she is still amazed by the earlier results. During the mana evaluation at the Crystal Colosseum, Kanan, examinee number 999, stepped forward. Possessing the extremely rare light attribute, her maximum output was so intense that it actually caused a crack to appear in the measuring capsule. The examiner, Letitia Primrose, was stunned. But the true shock came with the next student, examinee number 1000, Liad Fialis. At first, Letitia was confused because she could not see his mana at all. It was colorless. However, the moment Liad unleashed his power to the max, the pressure was suffocating. Letitia couldn't comprehend how he was concealing such monstrous power. Before she could react, Liad quietly asked her to treat him as a normal student to avoid standing out. Letitia, still shaken, directed him to the next stadium, realizing that in that crowd of people, likely only she and his sister understood what a monster he truly is. While Letitia stands by the broken equipment processing this, a pair of arms suddenly wraps around her from behind. A playful voice asks what she is looking at. Letitia jolts as the papers in her hand are snatched away. She turns to see Yuyuka, the chief of the research department. Yuyuka laughs, mentioning she just woke up from her midday nap and is in desperate need of an excellent guinea pig, or rather a research assistant. She decides to scout this year's examinees before anyone else can claim them. Letitia protests that the exam isn't over, but Yuyuka ignores her, scanning the reports. Her eyes widen as she focuses on the data for the amber white girl and the boy who followed her. She asks Letitia if she felt that insane mana earlier. Letitia hesitates, noting that the temporary student cards can only measure so much, but Liad's power clearly exceeded the limit. She specifically points out the color of his mana. Yuyuka cuts her off, trembling with excitement. She confirms it is just as she thought, a colorless pattern. It is a unique type of mana that can become any color, the same as that person. Overwhelmed by her discovery, Yuyuka's own aura flares up, causing the already damaged measurement device to start rumbling and cracking further. Letitia shouts for her to stop before she destroys the equipment completely. Unbothered, Yuka declares that they should just pass the two siblings immediately so she can drag them into her lab the moment they graduate. Promising to fix the device later, she wanders off, deciding to go check on the princesses next. Letitia watches her go, sighing as she wonders just what Liad will show them during the mock battle in the afternoon. The afternoon exam begins. The head examiner, Siaba, addresses the students, explaining that the next test is the Phantom Dance. This assessment requires students to send a mana projection of themselves into an alternate dimension called the Phantom Arena to fight another student's projection. Siaba points to a large magic circle, noting that while the battle takes place in a different dimension, the physical body will be transported to a random location inside the school after the exam, depending on the results. He instructs them to enter in order. Cannon steps up first. She turns to her brother, beaming, and tells him she looks forward to passing and meeting him on the other side. She steps into the circle and vanishes. Watching her leave, Siaba chuckles warmly. He admits to Liad that he also has a younger sister, and understands how wonderful a good sibling relationship is. As a favor, he promises to arrange the matchmaking so that Liad and Kanan will not be forced to fight each other. Liad thanks him sincerely. Siaba gestures for him to proceed, reminding him there is no time to waste. Liad steps into the light. Internally, he steels himself. Even though this is a battle of projections, the sensation of combat will be indistinguishable from reality. Liad opens his eyes to find himself in a desolate wasteland, an empty space perfectly suited for a duel. A voice calls out from behind him, calling him an appropriate stepping stone. Liad turns to find Jill standing there. The demon noble smirks, claiming that fate must have bound him and Kanan together, which is why Liad has been presented to him as an obstacle to clear. He arrogantly offers Liad a chance to surrender and drop out now, suggesting it would be for the best so that he can pursue Kanan without her brother's interference. Liad responds politely but firmly. He acknowledges Jill's confidence but refuses to lose. Jill scoffs at his defiance. He brings up the mana evaluation, insisting that no matter how skilled Liad might be in physical combat, mana is everything in the Phantom Arena. Raising his voice, he declares that someone with no mana has absolutely no chance of victory. Jill holds up 3 fingers. He announces that ending this in a single blow would be boring, so he will allow 3 strikes. The 3rd strike will burn Liad's phantom body to ashes. He points a finger, casting Flame Demon God's Breath. A beam of intense fire shoots forth, engulfing Liad in a massive explosion. Jill laughs, mocking the weakling. However, as the dust settles, his laughter dies. Liad is standing completely unharmed, having used the Guardian Art First form to create a circular energy shield. Liad calmly asks if that was merely a probe, noting that the fire was quite showy. Jill is stunned. He stammers that the attack was a mid-tier spell, borrowing power from a demon god. It is impossible for a student with no visible mana to withstand it. Liad lectures him, explaining that even if one borrows a god's power, the projection's output relies on the user's own mana capacity. Furious, Jill yells that tricks won't save him. He casts his second spell, Frega Rosina, summoning a spirit from purgatory to brand Liad's shadow into the earth. A creature with the body of a snake and the torso of a human materializes. Jill commands it to chase the target until he is scorched to a crisp. The spirit splits into 4 separate entities, lunging at Liad from all directions. Liad reacts instantly, utilizing Guardian Art, first form Mirage. He leaves behind a remnant of his fighting spirit in his previous location to act as a decoy. Confused by the energy signature, the 4 spirits converge on the fake image and collide, exploding in a burst of friendly fire. Jill screams at the spirits, demanding to know what happened. Suddenly, Liad's voice comes from directly behind him, advising him to pay more attention to his surroundings. Jill whips around in terror. The humiliation triggers a memory of his lonely younger self. He thinks about the pain of being a 3rd son, constantly overshadowed and fighting for recognition. His fear turns to rage. He shouts that someone like Liad, blessed with the fortune of being the firstborn, could never understand his pain. Liad notices the flames surrounding Jill, turning from red to a deep, ominous black. Dark mana. Jill snaps. He invokes the Flame Demon God to scorch everything with the flames of judgment. Raising his hand, he screams the incantation for his 3rd and final strike. Frega Sachigal! Black energy swirls violently into the sky, signaling the end of the match. Jill refuses to back down. He hurls a torrent of dark energy toward his opponent, desperate to secure victory. Liad holds his ground, thinking that he isn't the only one who cannot afford to lose. Liad raises his hand, transmuting the black mana into raw power. He initiates Guardian Art Third Form, Moon Reflection. He calls out to the entity Jild summoned, commanding the flame demon god to answer his call just this once and lend him its power. Jild screams in confusion. He cannot understand how Liad, who has no contract with the spirits, can utilize the demon god's power. Ignoring the noble's shock, a sphere of lightning and energy forms around Liad, successfully blocking and absorbing the dark mana. Jild is horrified as he feels himself being pushed back. He insists it is impossible for him to have less mana than a commoner. Suddenly, he realizes his hand is fading away. His projection is destabilizing. Capitalizing on the opening, Liad's mana engulfs Jild's dark energy and shoots it forward with terrifying force. The blast crosses the horizon of the phantom dimension, boring a massive hole through the distant mountains. Liad analyzes the outcome calmly. Because he focused entirely on defense, he barely expended any mana. Jild, on the other hand, unleashed powerful attacks one after another. In the phantom dance, maintaining a projection requires mana. The more one spends, the harder it becomes to exist in that space. Jild has simply run out of fuel. As the battle ends, Liad finds himself falling through a black void. He assumes he is teleporting back to the school, but something feels wrong. He looks at his hands. He has not returned to his physical body yet. Looking around the dark space, he spots 6 silhouettes in the distance, the princesses of the 6 empires. Before he can investigate, someone approaches him from behind. Suddenly, chains wrap tightly around his body. Liad recognizes this sensation immediately. It is the exact same restricting feeling he gets whenever he tries to speak Arsmeria's name. A girl stands behind him, trying to speak, but her words are unintelligible. Liad strains to understand her, wondering if this mysterious figure is actually Arsmeria. Before he can reach her, a familiar voice calls out, "Brother!" The vision shatters, and Liad snaps back to consciousness in the real world. Conan is hovering over him, looking relieved. She sighs, thanking the heavens he is awake. Liad smiles, feeling that coming to this academy was definitely the correct decision. He certainly felt a clue regarding Arsmeria in that void. Conan interrupts his thoughts, admitting she was terrified. Even though she knows better than anyone how strong he is, she couldn't help but worry that something happened during the mock battle. She giggles nervously, apologizing for being such a worrier. Liad looks at her gently. He reminds himself that he is not here for his own sake. For the sister who believes in him so wholeheartedly, he must ensure she never has a reason to cry. He silently vows to stay by her side and protect Conan forever. Liad finds himself standing in an unfamiliar part of the campus. He asks where they are, and Conan explains that this building is designated for new students enrolling in the special class. Knowing his strength, she was certain he would be assigned here, so she waited for him. Liad is relieved. He thanks her, grateful that her prediction means he can continue to stay by her side. Suddenly, a voice calls down from the balcony above. 2 girls are leaning over the railing, teasing them about how close they seem. Liad and Kanan look up and are surprised to see the Beast Empire princesses, Yuzuriha and Kuzunoha. One of the princesses asks if the 2 of them are dating. Kanan quickly corrects the misunderstanding, introducing herself as Kanan Fiales of the Earl family from the Heavenly Empire, and introducing Liad as her brother. The princesses are intrigued. They note that the siblings don't resemble each other at all. However, they realize this makes Liad and Kanan just like them. Kuzunoha introduces herself as the elder sister, though she notes that she and Yuzuriha treat each other as equals regardless of age. Conan thinks that is wonderful, comparing their bond to that of best friends. The twins agree happily, hugging each other and then pulling Kanan into the embrace, delighted that their new classmate understands them so well. Liad watches the wholesome interaction, but his instincts remain sharp. He knows there is no way the princesses of a major empire are unguarded. He scans the area and detects a presence a short distance away, a guard standing on standby. While there's no hostility from the girls, the guard emits a distinct pressure. To be safe, Liad discreetly activates Guardian Art Second Form, Isolation, cutting off the guard's mana sense to create a blind spot around them. The guard, Rukin, notices the interference immediately but remains silent. Meanwhile, the princesses sniff the air. They mention smelling a strong beast on the siblings, a scent that only their superior senses can detect. Liad realizes they are smelling Bastet. He explains that a forest within their earldom is home to Bastet, the king of cats, who graciously agreed to serve as their mount to the academy. The princesses are shocked. It is rare for the king of cats to let anyone ride him, let alone form a contract with humans from the Heavenly Empire. They lean in closer to Leod, sniffing him intently. They detect something else, a scent that cats love. They ask if he is carrying catnip. The girls get uncomfortably close to Leod in their excitement. Suddenly, Rukin steps in, pulling them back and scolding them for their lack of decorum. Leod apologizes, explaining that he gave Bastet some catnip wine earlier at lunch, which is why the scent lingers. The princesses laugh, assuring Rukin that secondhand fumes won't get them drunk. Rukin sighs, reminding them that speaking of alcohol is beneath their station. The princesses pout, arguing that their father drinks all the time. One of them tries to lean back toward Leod, telling him there's no need to be so uptight, but Rukin firmly pulls them away again. Despite the scolding, Rukin smiles at Leod. He extends a hand, apologizing for the earlier tension. As a fellow guard, he offers Leod his respect, recognizing that he is no ordinary warrior. Leod shakes his hand, returning the sentiment. Satisfied with the answer about Bastet, the group prepares to leave. The princesses wave goodbye, promising to see them tomorrow in class. Conan remarks on how easy they were to get along with, and Leod agrees as they head down the stairs. Waiting for them at the bottom are examiner Letitia and Professor Siaba. Letitia congratulates Conan first. She announces that Kanan ranked 9th overall, scoring an A+ on the mana evaluation. Her combined score with the Phantom Dance totals 135 points, one of the highest achieved, even including the princesses. Conan is humbled by the high evaluation. Siaba adjusts his glasses and turns to Leod. He notes that Leod also scored an A+ on the mana evaluation. Because of this, the research library chief, Professor Yuyuka, has requested a re-evaluation at a later date. Siaba warns him to be careful if he chooses to accept, hinting at the professor's eccentric nature. Letitia chides Siaba for veering off topic. Siaba giggles and gets back on track. He informs Leod that regarding his Phantom Dance performance, the general supervisor of the exam, who is also the vice principal, wishes to speak with him directly. Moments later, Leod stands before the vice principal, Matilda Lindworm. She glares at him with intense vertical slit eyes. Leod recognizes them immediately as draconic eyes, proof of the strength that makes dragons famous. Matilda speaks with authority. She states that Leod's results in both the Mana evaluation and the Phantom Dance place him at the absolute top of all examinees. She admits that for someone with his unparalleled value to enroll voluntarily is a boon to the academy. On behalf of the principal, she thanks him. Her aide whispers in her ear, reminding her to get to the main topic. Matilda nods. Her expression turns serious as she addresses him again, asking for his assistance. Walking down the corridor with Kanan, Leod recalls the private conversation he just had with the vice principal. Matilda had 2 specific requests for him. First, she asked if he would mind having his academic score excluded from the overall ranking. Leod agreed, stating that he doesn't mind as long as he is allowed to enroll. She explained that there are those who oppose the idea of ranking the princesses of the 6 empires against each other. To avoid political friction, no ranks above 7th place will be publicly announced. All the princesses will be enrolled in the special class, which means they will be Leod's classmates. This led to her second request. She wants Leod to assist in creating an environment where the princesses can learn safely. While an alliance exists where the empires have sworn not to start wars, that is merely a formal agreement between nations. The school lacks the authority to intervene in private disputes between students. Given the earlier conflict between the holy and demon princesses, Leod realized this was a valid concern. He accepted the responsibility, promising to do whatever he can to ensure the class functions smoothly. Snapping back to the present, Leod and Conan are stunned to see their mother standing right in front of them in the hallway. Muria smiles brightly, introducing herself playfully as Professor Mew, a substitute teacher. Conan immediately calls her out, laughing that there is no way she can fool them. Leod asks why she is here. Muria apologizes for the secrecy but confirms she really is a substitute teacher. As a former student of the academy, she used her connections with old acquaintances to return as an assistant teacher for the special class, the very class her children are in. She had been working in the capital to prepare for this moment. Leod is touched, realizing she has been working in the shadows all this time just to be with them. Kanan laughs that their mother always goes overboard, but that is exactly what she loves about her. She hugs Muria and Leod smiles, agreeing that he expects nothing less from their mom. Muria gets emotional but quickly composes herself. She reminds them that on campus, she must treat all students equally and will refer to them as Mr. Lyod and Mrs. Conan. Kanan giggles that it feels weird, but they play along. Muria tells them to fix their collars and suggests they head to their lodging together. She jokes that if they get tired, they can jump into their teacher's arms and she will carry them. The siblings look at each other and giggle, dutifully responding, "Yes, Professor Mew." They head to the Magic Academy's West Number 21 Noble District. Mireia explains that the buildings here are designed to match the topography of each country. As they walk, Lyod senses a presence behind them, but when he turns, no one is there. They arrive at a huge mansion. Two maids, Soel and Cosette, welcome the Fial's family, announcing that they will be serving them from today onwards. Lyod is surprised they even have maids. He politely asks if they are also students. The maids confirm they are second-year scholarship students working part-time to pay tuition. They assure him that they have received special training and will have no issues fulfilling their roles. They offer to prepare dinner immediately. Canon, grateful and humble, mentions she loves cooking and asks to join her seniors in the kitchen. The maids are stunned that a noble would offer to help, insisting they are not worthy, but Canon's kindness disarms them. Lyod decides to take a look around outside with Bastet. Muria gives him permission, and Bastet happily flies off with Lyod on his back, joking that he will borrow her son. They land in a quiet spot, and Lyod tells Bastet there is plenty of space for him to sleep here. Suddenly, he spots a girl hiding behind a pillar. It is the guard from the Holy Empire he sensed earlier. Realizing she has been spotted, the girl steps out and introduces herself as Claudina, the servant of the Holy Princess, Her Highness Ericiel. Lyod introduces himself as the guard of Canon Fiales. He asks what brings her here at this hour. Claudina admits she wished to speak with him, because she figured out that he and his sister are in the special class. She explains that the special class is almost exclusively composed of the princesses and their guardians, meaning only those with exceptionally high grades can enter. She reveals that Her Highness Ericiel had aimed to take first place in the entrance exam. However, the Dragon Princess, Her Highness Aurelius, turned down the position of freshman representative, stating that there is someone more deserving than her. Lyod realizes that since the rankings above 7th place are hidden, the existence of a student stronger than the princesses is a mystery to everyone else. Claudina suspects it is him. Lyod deflects politely, stating he hasn't received a rank either. Claudina thanks him for answering and warns him of a coming storm. She explains that the demon princess, Aurelius, was also aiming for first place. After the exams, Aurelius declared that she wants to duel the person whom the dragon princess claims is superior. Ericiel, having interacted with Aurelius in the past, instructed Claudina to warn Lyod. Although the admission ceremony is in 3 days, the special class is scheduled to gather in the classroom tomorrow. Claudina warns that it is highly likely the demon princess will make her move then. With that final warning, she turns and leaves. The next morning, Kanan wakes up groggily to wish her brother a good morning, only for Lyod to realize she is sleeping on top of him again. He suspects she took advantage of his nap while he was guarding her room to sneak into his bed. Carefully, he squeezes out from under her, announcing he is going outside for fresh air. Once he is gone, Kanan jolts awake, surprised that she actually managed to fall asleep there. Outside, Lyod washes up at the well. The maids rush over in a panic, covering their eyes while insisting they absolutely were not peeking. He apologizes for the disgraceful sight, but they eagerly assure him it is fine and hand him a towel. Suddenly, Kanan appears behind him. She takes the towel and begins drying his hair, scolding him for using cold water and warning him against catching a cold. Lyod retorts that it isn't raining and tells her to go back inside. As she accepts the towel, the maids whisper that the siblings look like lovers in a forbidden romance. Lyod sighs, realizing that living here might be exhausting. Later, the siblings head to the academy. Kanan notes the strict security, which Lyod explains is due to the gathering of the princesses from 6 nations. Entering the hall, he observes the group and notes that the princess of the Oni Empire is missing. Siaba and Letitia introduce themselves as the instructors for magic fighting arts and magic theory, respectively, causing tension to rise immediately. Ericiel, the Holy Princess, instructs Aurelius, the Demon Princess, to show respect. Aurelius shoots back, telling her to mind her manners, declaring that honor is paramount in the Demon Empire, and refusing lessons until the hierarchy is established. She then addresses Ryunea, the Dragon Princess, who is sleeping. Ryunea wakes up annoyed, reiterating her demand for the mana ranking results she sensed yesterday. Suseri, the Human Princess, objects to treating people like objects, prompting the beast princesses to tease her about which position she intends to fill. Aurelius cuts through the chatter, demanding the mana results. She turns her gaze to Liad, revealing she knows he defeated Gild. When Ericiel tries to intervene, Aurelius silences her by invoking the Sky Pact, an ancient treaty allowing the demon empire to uphold its principles of honor through combat. Ryunea insults the demons for needing violence to gauge strength. Ignoring the jab, Aurelius steps in front of Liad and challenges him to a duel right there and then. Aurelius issues a formal challenge to Liad, declaring that the blood of the Fial's family does not seem to run in him. To raise the stakes, she produces a master-servant ring, an heirloom passed down through generations of her family. Invoking a heavenly contract, she demands that if she wins, he must become her subordinate. Ericiel shouts in disbelief, asking if the demon princess realizes what she is doing. The holy princess warns that a heavenly contract is absolute. By requesting it, Aurelius places herself under the exact same condition. If she loses, she will be forced to serve Liad. Aurelius confirms she is fully aware of the risks and leads the way to the arena. The group arrives at the second Phantom Arena. Siaba notices Liad gripping his sword and asks if he intends to use the magic equipment. Liad confirms it, though he hesitates, feeling it might be inappropriate to go all out. Siaba sternly orders him not to hold back against the demon princess, warning him that losing here would drastically alter his future. Liad smiles, sheathes his sword, and promises to put forth his best effort to avoid any regrets. Kanan and Miria cheer him on from the sidelines. Liad steps into the magic circle, and a brilliant light transports him to a different dimension, resembling a dark, imposing fortress. Aurelius appears behind him, noting that the architecture is similar to Pandemonium, explaining that the audience outside cannot see them until the battle officially begins. Liad attempts to de-escalate, offering to explain the legitimacy of his exam results, but she raises a hand to stop him. Surprisingly, she admits that she acted prematurely. Liad is confused, noticing that her usual mask of arrogance has slipped. Aurelius reveals her true insecurities, explaining that she, and likely the other princesses, assumed Runea would take first place. Being the youngest royal representative, Aurelius feels looked down upon, and is desperate to prove herself against Ericiel and the others. However, meeting Liad, a mere guard with strength greater than hers, has shattered her limited worldview. She asks him if he will continue to show her this brand new world. Meanwhile, outside the arena, Letitia watches anxiously. Realizing she should have stopped this duel, she fears the outcome of a clash between Liad and a princess. Ericiel approaches her, suggesting they watch over the duel since there is nothing else they can do. As the viewing screen forms, the holy princess quickly covers Letitia's eyes. On the screen, a temporal cage enveloped in crimson mist manifests around Liad, the Crimson Eyes of Time. Watching from the sidelines, Kanan recognizes the unique magic eye immediately. She notes that it steals the target's consciousness, realizing that Aurelius is going all out to force Liad into servitude with a single blow. Inside the arena, Aurelius leaps toward her opponent, lamenting that the match will end so quickly. She dashes forward to strike, but Liad moves with blinding speed, hovering high above her before the attack lands. The spectators are stunned that he resisted the magic eye and claimed the high ground without drawing his sword. Ryunea admits Aurelius is strong, but Liad's true strength remains a mystery. Aurelius demands to know how he resisted the consciousness-stealing effect. Liad calmly explains that losing consciousness is not an issue as long as the body continues to move. He reveals he used Guardian Art First form, attaining Void, rigging his body with mana threads to execute pre-programmed movements automatically, bypassing the hypnosis. Aurelius is shocked that he read through her attack so completely. Gritting her teeth, she floats up to meet him, declaring that she hasn't made him kneel yet. Suddenly, her clothes dissolve into a swarm of bats that revolve around her. Unleashing a deadly energy, she undergoes a transformation, telling Liad that since he encroached upon her castle, he is now hers whether he desires it or not. Aurelius extends her hand, unleashing the crimson blossoming dual swords. As the blood-red dust swirls into blades, she demands that Liad stop holding back and unsheath his weapon. Liad calmly analyzes the situation, tracking the trajectory of her mana to predict that the attack from her right arm will arrive a split second before the left. He initiates Guardian Art First form, manifesting huge transparent wings. Knowing that the vampire racial ability drains opponent mana, he strategically sends these mana wings into the sky to act as decoys. As Aurelius strikes, Liad deploys a crystal barrier to bait her draining ability, then blocks her follow-up attack with a circular shield. Suddenly, crystal flowers bloom wildly in the air around them, stunning her. Watching the broadcast, Erisiel explains the phenomenon to the other princesses. Aurelius's fangs drain mana and convert it into crystal flowers. The onlookers realize that Liad did not deploy a barrier to block her, but rather to feed her specific targets, keeping his main body safe from the drain. Back in the arena, Aurelius loses her balance in midair. Liad grips his sword hilt, ready to draw, but stops at the last second. Instead, he grabs her and lands safely on the ground as the crystal flowers shatter around them. He nervously apologizes, but Aurelius pushes him away violently. She demands to know why he refused to draw his sword, asking if he truly believes she is that weak. Her desperate expression triggers a sudden memory in Liad. He hears the voice of Ars Maria from the past, scolding him for thinking she would fear death and challenging him to fight her seriously. Liad gasps, snapping back to reality, wondering why he is recalling that specific memory now since Aurelius and Ars Maria look nothing alike. Mistaking his hesitation for pity, Aurelius accuses him of thinking she is afraid. Liad realizes this is not the time to be lost in the past. Aurelius turns, admitting he is stronger than she imagined, but refusing to give up because he was the one who showed her a new world. A heavy mist begins to surround her as she declares her full title as Aurelius Grandshawk, the first princess, pledging to fight with her life on the line. Moved by her resolve, Liad realizes she is serious, and it would be an insult to her honor to treat her like a mere opponent. He formally recites his title as the guard of the Fial's family. Vowing to venture forth with all his being, Liad finally unsheathes his sword. The narrative shifts to a flashback of Aurelius's childhood. Her mother tells the young girl that she bears the hopes and responsibilities of the Grandshawk family, a burden she must never forget. Young Aurelius happily accepts this duty. Later, she is introduced to a girl her age, Erisiel, the Holy Princess. Aurelius is eager to make a friend, but her mother's voice turns cold. She instructs Aurelius that under no circumstances is she to ever lose to the Holy Princess, stating that as a demon princess, winning is her solemn duty. Over the years, this pressure compounds. Aurelius is constantly told she must be stronger, greater, and the absolute number one. She obediently agrees every time, but resentment simmers beneath the surface. In the present, Aurelius reflects on her opponent. Everyone's attention is focused on Liad, the scion of the Fiales family from the Heavenly Empire. She recalls the history of his nation, an empire responsible for ending all wars through a mysterious emperor who created the anti-war barrier, and then vanished from history. While she has always been curious about that ancient power, her priority is now simple. As a demon, she can only determine her worth through combat. She believes that by defeating Liad and forcing the other princesses to recognize her, she can finally prove who she is. Back in the arena, a heavy crimson mist encroaches upon the world. Aurelius snarls from within the fog, warning Liad that simply touching this mist will drain the mana his projection is composed of, providing her with sustenance. He recognizes this domain immediately. She mocks him, declaring that he is already inside her castle. As she commands him to dance until the phantom moon rises, the crimson mist solidifies into mirror reflections, using a technique called Crimson Palace. Liad trembles as his surroundings distort. He realizes this is different from her previous attack. Instead of a dominance-type magic eye that controls the mind, this is a hallucination-type eye that bewitches the senses. He sees countless reflections of Aurelius surrounding him. Sensing a powerful presence behind him, Liad spins around and slashes his sword, but the blade hits nothing but a mirror, which shatters instantly. Aurelius's voice echoes through the room, telling him that under her magic, his sword will never reach her. She thanks him, claiming that fighting him has made her even stronger. Liad squeezes his eyes shut, trying to focus. He realizes she exists everywhere in this domain. The vampire castle itself acts as her main body. Suddenly, she whispers directly into his ear. Liad clenches his teeth, knowing that a direct hit from this range would be fatal. He spins and initiates Guardian Art First Form, turning his sword strike into a void intended to pierce through her defense. However, the blade once again shatters only glass and mist. Through the falling shards, he sees Aurelius giggling. Liad realizes with horror that she activated a second magic eye in advance. She is using two simultaneously. Everything begins to flash violently. He realizes he cannot use his crystal decoy trick anymore if he looks into that eye. Aurelius laughs menacingly as a temporal poison enveloped in mist binds him. Aurelius throws Leod heavily onto the ground. As he hits the floor, his consciousness drifts, pulling him into a vivid memory. In the vision, Arsmeria stands before him, asking if he intends to lose and reminding him of her own ambition to become the strongest mage in all 7 empires. She tells him that if he intends to be the heavenly imperial shield, he must become the strongest knight to match her. Praising his beautiful, transparent mana, Arsmeria urges him to soar high so they can change the world together. Leod clenches his fist in the real world, his resolve hardened. He swears to be stronger than anyone else and refuses to let anyone obstruct his lord's dream. With renewed determination, Leod pushes Aurelius away. He raises his blade and strikes one of the mirrors surrounding them, activating Guardian Art 3rd form, Lunar Reflection. Aurelius shouts in confusion, realizing he has copied the properties of her spell during the fight. Before she can react, he vanishes and reappears behind her, utilizing the Guardian Art 2nd form to cloak himself like a shadow. Aurelius spins around and attacks, blasting him with mist, but the figure she strikes dissolves. It was merely a reflection. She stares at him in disbelief, asking how he lived to become this formidable. Refusing to accept defeat, she leaps toward him again, screaming that she will reach him because she is the demon princess. Outside the arena, Irisiel and the other princesses watch in awe. While some worry that Aurelius will run out of mana soon due to her high-intensity attacks, Ryunea corrects them. The dragon princess warns that it is not finished yet, as Aurelius has not yet revealed her true fangs. Siaba watches silently, impressed by Leod's performance. Beside him, Kanan smiles while Muria observes with a mother's eye, noting that the two are not just fighting, they are dancing together. Back in the duel, Leod continues to dodge, but he notices something is wrong. Despite expending massive amounts of mana, Aurelius seems to be growing stronger. She taunts him, noting that he is dodging even the wind from her attacks in hopes that she will tire out. She reveals that she can dance for much longer than he thinks. Suddenly, Leod feels a presence directly above him. Aurelius unleashes blood poison within a technique called Crimson Blood's Cage. He feels his wings clipped as an invisible force locks him in place, trapping him. Aurelius lands before him, declaring that in her castle escape is impossible. Leod is tense, realizing she has sealed his movements, and is attacking without fear of hitting her own limits. She smiles, revealing the secret of her endurance. As long as she continues to steal his mana, she has no limits. She produces a hand fan and slowly begins to close it. As the fan shuts, the cage around Leod contracts, crushing in on him. Aurelius shouts that this draining ability is her true fang, and a massive burst of energy explodes from her body. Leod stands resolute, a complex magic circle glowing beneath his feet. Aurelius stares in disbelief, realizing he must have been drawing the formation the entire time he was dodging her attacks. The activation of the magic triggers a memory for Leod. He recalls a conversation with Arsmeria about barrier art. She once expressed a desire to see a world where fighting was unnecessary, hoping her magic could serve as a deterrent. Leod reflects with bitter regret that if he had been able to reproduce that power perfectly back then, he might have saved her. Now, thousands of years later, he uses this incomplete barrier in hopes of meeting her again. He unleashes the 4th technique, Colorless. The barrier expands instantly, dissolving the dark mist in the crystal petals. Aurelius is stunned, unable to comprehend how an outsider can use exceptional magic reserved for the bloodlines of the empires. She asks why he didn't destroy her barrier sooner if he had this power. Leod admits that he didn't hold back. He used it because she was truly strong, and he feared he would lose without it. Overwhelmed by his strength and humility, Aurelius wipes tears from her eyes. She shouts that she will fight until the end, leaping forward to dash into him. However, instead of attacking, she embraces him, whispering that this is his win. As her projection fades, Leod begins to teleport. In the transition, he hears a mysterious voice wondering if this outcome is fate, similar to what he felt during the exam. Back in the real world, Kanan rushes over, shouting for her brother, while Mayuria joins in to hug him. Leod's mind, however, lingers on that mysterious voice. Aurelius approaches him, her arrogance replaced by a calm humility. She notes that it feels like it has been a while since they were fighting. Bracing herself, she tells Leod that the winner of a phantom duel has the right to demand one thing from the loser. She apologizes for her earlier rudeness and asks him to order a suitable punishment. Leod cuts her off. He formally requests that Aurelius allow him to study in the same class as her. He expresses his wish to polish their abilities side by side and build a peaceful relationship with everyone. Aurelius is shocked, arguing that she should be the one asking for such a privilege. Liad insists, stating that being able to duel the imperial demon princess is reward enough. After a moment of thought, Aurelius nods. She addresses him as Lyod-sama. When he protests the honorific, she smiles, vowing to address him that way until the day she finally defeats him. The beast princesses interrupt the moment, teasing Liad for letting her off the hook so easily and demanding he punish her more. Meanwhile, watching the scene from a distant high-rise building, a mysterious woman smiles, amused by Liod-chan's serious nature. At the Magic Academy's 9th research facility, a mysterious girl sits in the observation tower, reviewing data from the recent battles. She analyzes Liad Fiales, noting his A+ mana measurement and his abnormal ability. What intrigues her most is his use of barrier art, a level of magic far superior to standard barriers, comparable to the legendary Armistice barrier created 1,000 years ago. She observes that despite possessing power only a true mage could wield, Liad remains modest, treating his peers as equals. She looks at a detective board filled with pinned images and points to a sketch of the Silver Guard Knight, Vince. Known as the strongest shield who protected the Sky Emperor from countless threats, Vince has almost no historical documentation. She deduces that this is because he purposely hid his own merits. Just like Liad, the girl admits she has been researching the ancient Empress and her escort for years, longing to meet a mage capable of changing the world. She presses a button, generating a hologram of Liad. Walking toward it, she cups the digital figure's face, whispering affectionately. She declares that she will not let him become the plaything of the imperial princesses. As dark energy begins to swirl around her, she expresses a twisted desire. She wants him so badly that she wants to break him. The next day, Kanan and Liad are at the cafeteria. Kanan insists on feeding her brother, claiming he is still tired from his fight. Liad tries to protest, but she ignores him, pointing out that he has become incredibly popular. She mentions that the other students, including the princesses, are pushing for him to become the chairman of the class. Kanan pouts, jealous that their private time is being interrupted. Liad remains humble, stating that being acknowledged for a simple duel is honor enough. Suddenly, Suseri, the human princess, approaches their table. Liad and Kanan both jolt in surprise. Suseri notices their lunch and compliments the handmade meal. Kanan admits she made it, and Suseri praises her brilliance, noting her high grades and cooking skills. Flustered, Kanan tries to deflect the praise to her brother, explaining that he helps her with her magic studies. Suseri smiles, noting how proud Kanan is of him. She turns to Liad, telling him that his match earlier was unbelievable. Liad replies that it is an honor to receive praise from her, expressing his joy at being in the same department. Suseri looks away shyly, admitting she isn't confident that she is strong enough to warrant such high regard. Changing the subject, Liad asks why she approached them. Suseri reveals she has a request for him in his capacity as the presumptive chairman. Her squad is waiting outside, and she asks if he would accompany her to pay a formal visit to the demon imperial princess, Aurelius. Following Suseri, the group arrives at the Oni Empire's dormitory, located in the West Quarter No. 20 Noble Settlement. At the gate, Suseri's guards, Rian and Uraha, announce her arrival, stating she wishes to meet with the Oni princess. As the heavy doors swing open, Liad feels a faint, unnatural chill, as if he brushed against someone else's mana. As they walk through the forest path inside the grounds, Kanan sneezes. Liad asks if she is all right, noting the sudden drop in temperature. Suseri sighs, explaining that, as always, this cold is the result of Hiori's leaking mana. Curious, Liad asks about her relationship with the Oni princess. Suseri reveals that they have been friends for a long time. Since neither had friends their own age, they bonded immediately during diplomatic meetings between the human and Oni empires. She recalls how they used to have fun by themselves while the adults glared at them, even admitting she once helped Hiori escape her room. Her guards are surprised by this revelation. Suseri expresses concern. Hiori was originally a tomboy who felt suffocated by her confinement. Suseri had hoped attending the college would improve her mood, but the Oni princess remains isolated. Hearing this, Liad is reminded of a lonely figure staring distantly from behind a blind. Ars Maria. He thinks that having someone remember and care for you in that solitude is almost like a miracle. If Hiori feels that same isolation, he wants to help. Kanan, blushing slightly, adds that she is looking forward to meeting her. However, as they reach the mansion entrance, they find two guards arguing. Neo, a male Oni, insists that they cannot pass. Raksha, a female guard, argues back, stating that Hiori would certainly be pleased to see Suseri. Neo refuses to listen. His energy turns menacing as he declares that Hiori-sama is not meeting anyone, rudely ordering the guests to leave. Liad recognizes the hostility flowing through the guard as impressive. Raksha snaps at Neo, reminding him that he does not have the authority to decide who Hiori accepts. Realizing the standoff will not end quickly, Raksha walks over and bows to Suseri. She apologizes deeply for the scene and asks the human princess to wait a moment while she finishes speaking with Neo. The guards of Suseri step forward, offended by the disrespect shown to their princess. Suseri immediately halts them, stating that if this is the rule of the Oni country, they have no choice but to accept it. However, she refuses to leave just yet, deciding to observe the situation from where they stand. Neo declares that while this isn't a show, he can no longer ignore the situation now that there are witnesses. He cracks his knuckles, signaling his intent. Raksha, unwilling to let his attitude slide, draws the sharp blades concealed in her headdress. Watching the tension spike, Liad realizes this is a true battle, far different from the safety of an illusion duel. If this continues, one of them will be seriously injured. He notes that Neo isn't even fighting seriously yet. Determined not to let Suseri's thoughtfulness go to waste, Liad prepares to intervene. Neo leaps toward Raksha, shouting his battle cry. The two clash violently, utilizing distinct styles. Raksha employs shadow arts, while Neo counters with pure swordsmanship and lightning. They exchange high-level techniques, unleashing the Thunder Helix wheel against the 7 arc blades. Both combatants lunge for a deadly final strike. Just before they connect, Liad activates Guardian Art second form. The Traveler becomes lost. Instantly, the two Oni guards freeze, their minds trapped in a momentary slideshow of illusions. Liad knows the illusion will only buy him a second, but that is all he needs. Gripping his sword, he steps between them and transitions into Guardian Art first form, Floating Leaf. Like a leaf riding the current of a raging river, he seamlessly parries both attacks, duplicating their mana signatures to cancel out the impact completely. Neo and Raksha are blown back, staring in shock at the man who suddenly appeared between them. Neo, furious at the interference, demands to know why a guard of the Heavenly Empire is here. Suseri steps in, explaining that Liad is their class representative. She adds that while Neo didn't see the duel, Aurelis and the other princesses have already acknowledged Liad's ability. Neo remains unimpressed. He counters that while others may have accepted him, Princess Hiori has not. Suseri is left speechless by his stubbornness. Liad, however, understands. Looking at the Oni guard, he starts to remember certain things from the past. He empathizes with Neo, realizing exactly why he is standing in their way with such desperation. Regardless, Liad knows he cannot back down now. Neo glares at him, declaring that if that is the case, his discussion is no longer with Raksha, but with Liad. Liad accepts the challenge, agreeing to talk as the class representative. Neo wastes no time. He bluntly states that Princess Hiori does not need to attend their damn class and orders them to leave. To emphasize his point, the Oni guard unleashes a massive downward slash. Liad barely jumps back in time, marveling at the incredible strength behind the blow. From a distance, Liad argues that he believes the Oni princess herself is interested in participating. He insists that his goal is only to grant her the most fulfilling student experience possible. Neo closes the distance instantly. He scoffs at the idea, calling Liad a hypocrite for whitewashing the reality. He points out that the gathering of the princesses has resulted in nothing but petty bickering so far, and declares that there is no need for Hiori to take part in such a mess. As the fight continues, Neo slashes wildly. Liad dodges the attacks but notices a dangerous mechanic. Neo's missed slashes leave behind lingering blades of mana. Liad realizes that Neo isn't just swinging thoughtlessly. He is filling the battlefield with a mountain of swords to limit Liad's movement. If the fight drags on, Liad will run out of room to dodge. Neo shouts that instructors can be sent directly to the dorms, proving there is no need for Hiori to interact with outsiders. Deciding to end the discussion, he activates the Ogre Sword Art Lightning Path 7 slashes. Liad analyzes the incoming technique. He knows the first of the 7 slashes boasts the greatest power. He forms a circular shield to block the initial blow, but realizes he cannot simply tank the remaining 6 without risking severe damage. Gritting his teeth, Liad speaks to his opponent amidst the clash. He admits that Neo is right. The class hasn't come together properly yet. He draws a parallel to the continent 1,000 years ago, which was also filled with conflict. However, because people desired peace, the world changed. Liad declares his belief that people can change too. He vows to protect Hiori's school life, but also to protect Neo's feelings of devotion. Neo, unmoved, thrusts his sword forward, stabbing straight through Liad's chest. Liad falls, but Neo feels no resistance. He stares in amazement as the body dissolves. It was a decoy created by Guardian Art's second form, Shadow Reflection. Liad reappears directly behind the Oni guard. He speaks softly, reminding Neo that while the role of a guard is to protect, that does not mean locking their charge in a cage. A true guard protects the world their charge wishes to see. He asks Neo, who holds the strongest feelings for Hiori, if he knows what world she truly wants. Neo freezes. He recalls a memory of Hiori complaining about being forbidden to go outside and wishing to meet everyone. The realization hits him hard. He wonders when he became just like the people who locked her away. Liad promises to put forth his utmost effort to ensure a safe environment, assuring Neo that Suseri will assist them. Suseri steps forward, gently asking Neo to let them pass as Hiori's friend. Neo lowers his weapon. He explains that knowing the difficult history between the human and Oni empires, he didn't want to let them pass without vetting their true intentions. He bows deeply to Suseri, offering his sincerest apologies for the offense. Raksha steps in, clarifying that this incident was caused entirely by Neo acting on his own accord. She reveals that Princess Hiori actually instructed them to let any guest through today. Liad breathes a sigh of relief and thanks Neo for agreeing to their unreasonable request. Neo scratches his head awkwardly, apologizing for lashing out. Liad waves it off, understanding that the guard was simply worried about his master, whose condition is currently poor. Raksha warns them that Hiori might still be resting, so they may have to wait. Suseri agrees happily. With the conflict resolved, the two guards open the massive gates, announcing that the group is about to enter the presence of Her Highness, the Oni Princess. As they cross the bridge, Liad feels the chill in the air intensifying, a sign of Princess Hiori's powerful magic. Finally reaching the destination, Raksha slides the gate open and invites them in. Inside the room, they find the princess confined within a cage-like structure behind bamboo blinds. Suseri asks gently if they woke her. Hiori replies happily, noting that it has been a long time and that Suseri has grown much taller. Suseri returns the compliment, saying Hiori seems much more mature. Hiori notices the man standing behind her friend and asks who he is. Suseri introduces him as their classmate. Hiori greets Liad warmly, observing that the mana he possesses resembles the flow of a great, serene river. Liad realizes she can see his colorless mana. He kneels respectfully, introducing himself as Liad Fialis, the class representative. After a moment of thought, Hiori asks Suseri if she minds letting her have a private conversation with Liad. Suseri agrees. Her female guard suggests that she and Kanon step out for a bit to chat. However, before leaving, the guard whispers a sharp warning into Liad's ear, threatening him not to try anything weird since he will be alone with the princess. Suseri glares at her retainer, who quickly claims she was just trying to calm his nerves. Once they are gone, silence fills the room. Suddenly, Hiori begins coughing violently. Liad expresses concern, noting she is still unwell. Hiori smiles weakly, admitting she let her guard down but asks him not to tell Suseri, as she worries too easily. She reveals that her cough is not due to an illness, suspecting that Liad has likely already noticed the true cause. Liad confirms it. He has felt the chill of leaking mana ever since entering the building. He recalls that in the past, Arsmeria suffered from the same condition. He tells Hiori that she possesses an incredible abundance of mana that is overflowing beyond her control. Hiori is impressed he can tell so clearly. She admits she is doing her best to control it, but in her current condition, attending class would only cause trouble for other students. Liad notes that despite this, she still wishes to attend. Hiori falls silent. Liad knows it might not be his place to interfere, having just met her. However, seeing a girl hoping to leave her cage reminds him vividly of Arsmeria. He resolves to help. He asks for permission to be bold and requests that she extend her hand across the blinds. Hiori hesitates, not wanting to be a burden. Liad smiles, assuring her she won't be. Trembling, she reaches out. Liad touches her fingers, initiating mana circulation. He acts as a conduit to help prevent the dispersion of her excess energy. As the connection forms, he feels a surreal sensation, as if he is standing on a mountain peak, being struck by a massive pillar of light. He realizes this cold, biting energy is what she has been holding in all alone. He focuses intently, stabilizing the flow. Outside, Suseri senses the atmosphere change, noting the sudden warmth in the energy. Kanan smiles confidently, assuring her that her brother has everything under control. Back inside, Hiori looks at her hands in amazement. She feels a tranquil flow. Her mana is finally under control. Liad explains that he assisted her circulation and promises to help her again whenever the flow stagnates. He tells her she can now head outside without worrying about bothering others. Hiori worries that since she missed the initial introductions, she might not get along with the other princesses. Liad reassures her, suggesting that tomorrow's entrance ceremony is the perfect opportunity. Hiori smiles, thanking him sincerely. Outside the door, Neo stands silently, having listened to the entire exchange. The next day, the entrance ceremony hall is packed with students, though Liad notes it is less crowded than the examination. Kanan clutches his arm, warning him to stay close so they don't get separated. Suddenly, a voice calls out to "Your Excellency." Aurelis approaches wearing a different outfit than usual. She asks for Liad's opinion, visibly fishing for a compliment. He honestly replies that she looks very mature, and it fits her well. Aurelis blushes, praising his good eyes. Erciel intervenes, scolding Aurelis for losing her composure and acting disgracefully. Aurelis shoots back, asking if it isn't already the Holy Princess's bedtime since she won't grow taller if she stays up late. Erciel retorts that she is only here because the princesses are expected to offer greetings, though she notes that Runea, the dragon princess, simply requested to be called when it was her turn and left. Aurelis asks why Erciel is hanging around Liad. The Holy Princess claims she felt it appropriate to offer blessings to the winner of the duel, implying that if Aurelis stays, she might hear things she would rather not. The bickering is interrupted when Suseri and Hiori arrive. Liad lights up, happy to see them both attending. Suseri explains that Hiori is feeling much better thanks to their visit. Hearing this, Aurelis twitches in jealousy, muttering that if she had known His Excellency was going with them, she would have tagged along. Suseri sighs, reminding the demon princess that she was the first one to turn down the invitation. The beast princesses also join the group, petting Liad and excited about the meat at the buffet. Overwhelmed by the liveliness, Hiori tugs on Suseri's shirt, asking if she can go take a look somewhere else. Suseri apologizes to the group and offers to go with her, but Hiori refuses, stating that Raksha is with her. She apologizes for worrying them and slips away into the crowd. As she leaves, Neo steps up behind Liad. The Oni guard asks to speak with him privately about Hiori. Liad agrees, using telepathy to tell Kanan he is stepping out for a moment. Kanan sighs, thinking that her brother makes new friends every time he fights someone. On a quiet balcony, Neo drops the formalities. He thanks Liad for whatever he did, as Hiori's mana has stabilized significantly. Liad is glad to help, but he presses Neo for answers. He asks if the mana inside her truly belongs to her, describing it as a cold, ferocious force that seemed to be suppressing her natural warm energy. Neo clenches his fist. He admits that, as a guard, he cannot reveal state secrets to an outsider. However, he confirms that this foreign energy is the source of Hiori's suffering. He explains his fear. Even if she goes outside, she will eventually lock herself up again to prevent hurting others. Neo worries that by letting her experience the world, she might find something precious, and that attachment will only make her suffer more when she has to isolate herself again. He confesses he doesn't know the right thing to do, but he knows he wants to see her smile. Meanwhile, in a secluded corridor, Hiori stands alone. She feels guilty for pushing Suseri away again. Despite the lively atmosphere, she feels it has nothing to do with her. She knows coming outside won't change her reality, but she still yearns for it. Suddenly, a woman appears behind her, asking if she got tired of the crowd. Hiori turns around confused. Raksha immediately steps in, demanding to know who the stranger is. Ignoring the guard, the woman grabs Hiori. She whispers that, while the princess wanted to be alone, royalty needs to stay with their knights, or else who knows what happens. In an instant, they vanish. Back in the castle, Liad freezes. He senses a massive explosion of powerful mana that vanishes as quickly as it appeared. Before he can react, Suseri runs toward him, panic on her face, shouting that Hiori has gone missing. Liad demands to know how Raksha lost sight of the princess. The guard admits someone cast dizzying magic on her, causing her to let her guard down on school grounds, for which she blames herself entirely. Interrupting her self-pity, Liad explains he has analyzed Hiori's specific mana signature and can trace the residual energy she left behind. He instructs Raksha to stay and protect Kanan, promising to contact them via mana induction once he locates the princess. Raksha agrees and Liad rushes off with Neo and Suseri. Tracing the trail, the trio arrives at an abandoned research lab in the Ruins district. Neo notes the facility's state, while Liad confirms the teleportation coordinates point here. However, Liad senses something disturbing. The mana is technically Hiori's, but it is overwhelmingly dominated by a much stronger foreign source. Suddenly, Hiori appears floating before them with closed eyes. Neo confirms this energy is the source of her suffering. The ogre god, Ice Snow Yaksha. Hiori's body transforms, becoming encased in a terrifying, skeleton-like structure of ice. Speaking through her, the Yaksha mocks Neo as the brat that came at me once in the past, before shooting a beam of ice that stabs him directly. As Neo falls, memories flood his mind. He remembers initially hating Hiori, believing she was a spoiled princess, until he learned she was a vessel for the ogre god, destined to be sacrificed to settle a calamity. He realized she avoided owning anything to prevent the pain of losing attachments. Despite this, Neo wanted to stay by her side, watching her struggle with the fear of hurting others and hiding her troubles even after making friends. Back in the present, Neo clutches his chest and begs Liad to save her before collapsing. Suseri tells Liad to look after him and leaps toward the ogre god, demanding Hiori answer her. She pierces the ice skeleton, but the Yaksha merely laughs, mocking Suseri as a fake prince modeled after her older brother, who lacks the ability to reach Hiori's true feelings. Before Suseri can react, the dark skeleton stabs her through the chest. Liliad screams her name as she falls, lamenting that she couldn't become a real friend. He catches her and attempts healing magic, but the entity declares it useless. The Yaksha explains that it's ice nest within the heart, penetrating the mind based on the strength of the victim's guilt. Seeing his friend's bonds trampled upon, Liad clenches his teeth, refusing to stand for it. The Yaksha launches another attack, declaring it will let no one stand in its way. Liad grabs both Neo and Suseri, dashing away while forming a circular shield to deflect the blow. The Yaksha sneers that having too much to protect makes a warrior weak. Suddenly, a massive blast strikes the ogre god. Liad forms a shield to protect his group but realizes the attack didn't come from him. Standing amidst the dust, a man looks at Liad with disappointment, asking what he is doing. Liad turns to the new arrival, surprised to see Jild standing there. The demon noble explains that he noticed Liad leaving the party and followed him out of curiosity, only to stumble upon this mess. Jild declares that he doesn't know or care what is going on, but he refuses to sit back and watch Liad get frozen. He arrogantly claims that his flames are the only thing allowed to take Liad down. Liad smiles at the rivalry. Jild explains his confidence. Just as the Oni Empire has an ogre god, the Demon Empire possesses a demon god. Since he can call upon similar divine power, he is the perfect counter to this enemy. Liad warns him that Princess Hiori is inside the monster. Attacking it means attacking her. Jild acknowledges the risk, stating they simply need to be precise. Jild initiates the attack using Frega Rosina. He commands evil spirits to manifest as chains, which erupt from the ground and bind the Yaksha's 4 limbs, sealing its movement. He signals Liad to strike. Liad nods. Mimicking the fire magic he copied from Jild during their previous duel, he synchronizes his attack with the demon noble. They unleash a combined burst of energy that obliterates the ogre god's head. However, the victory is short-lived. The chains shatter as the monster regenerates instantly. The Yaksha mocks them, explaining that it has no true corporeal body. It resides within the mind. To kill the Yaksha is to deny Hiori. Unless they destroy her mind, the monster cannot die. Jild realizes that physical destruction is meaningless. Liad understands that they cannot destroy the vessel. They must wake Hiori up. However, she is trapped deep within the frozen cage of her own heart. Desperate for a solution, Liad's mind drifts to a memory of Arzmeria. In the past, she asked him what his magic existed for, warning that if he couldn't answer, his domain art would remain incomplete. Back then, Liad believed his magic existed solely to protect Arzmeria. She had told him that this narrow mindset was his problem. Liad finally understands. Arzmeria was able to cast the greatest magic, the anti-war domain, because she sought to protect everyone. He recalls the Yaksha's earlier taunt that having too much to protect makes a warrior weak. Liad rejects that philosophy. He realizes that the more he has to protect, the stronger he becomes. That is the true core of a domain artist. Channeling this conviction, Liad activates his Guardian Art 4th form. He extends his hand, releasing a wave of unending heat. The temperature rises so drastically that the Yaksha's ice bones begin to melt. The ogre god screams in confusion, unable to comprehend the power that bypasses its defenses. Jild watches in awe as the monster falls apart. Seeing the opening, Liad leaps into the air. He plunges his hand through the melting ribcage and grasps Hiori's hand. Utilizing mana circulation, he doesn't just transfer energy, he dives into her consciousness. Liad finds himself inside the depths of her freezing heart. There he spots Hiori sleeping, surrounded by sharp, protective crystals. The narrative shifts to a flashback of Hiori's childhood. A young princess tries to show the maids a small ice sculpture she made, but they dismiss her, focused only on preparing her sleeping chamber. Hiori sadly notes that the sculpture will melt before anyone sees it. Suddenly, a dark voice whispers in her mind, "Eyes will not melt." Since that day, the voice grew stronger, mirroring the growth of her mana. Hiori grew to hate this power because it hurt Neo and isolated her from everyone else. The entity told her she was merely a cage designed to seal the ice-snow Yaksha and prevent a calamity. Believing her life only had meaning as a sacrifice, Hiori gave up on her future and cast aside her connections. Yet the loneliness remained. In the darkness of her mindscape, Hiori sees a floating book. She recognizes it as one of the romance novels she used to read. She realizes that although she gave up on love for herself, she always loved the stories where a prince comes to save the heroine. Suddenly, Liad's voice pierces the darkness, calling her name. Hiori realizes the voice she heard wasn't the problem. The problem was that she was too scared to listen to the voices of those who cared. Awakening within her subconscious, Hiori stands before the Yaksha. The entity mocks her, repeating that she is nothing more than a cage with no future. Hiori retorts that she doesn't care about the future. She wants to live in the present. She dashes forward and embraces the terrifying spirit, declaring she is leaving the cage. In the real world, the ice shatters. Liad catches Hiori as she falls, quickly wrapping his coat around her as they land. Crying, Hiori thanks him for reaching his hand out to her. She smiles, declaring she is fine now. She cannot erase the ogre god, but she can live with it and will no longer be afraid. Neo wakes up nearby, shouting her name. Hiori kneels before him, apologizing for making him suffer for so long, and thanking him for sharing her pain. The guard weeps openly. Hiori then turns to Suseri. She admits she didn't want to worry her friend, but realizes she should have relied on her instead of running away. Suseri questions if she has the right to be with her, but Hiori holds her hand, expressing a desire to learn more about each other now that they are classmates. The two friends hug tearfully. Liad approaches, handing Hiori a cloth to wipe her tears. He brushes off her apology for the mess at the entrance ceremony, noting fortunately that no one was injured. Neo realizes this is thanks to Hiori, who must have restrained the ogre god's lethality even while unconscious. Liad asks a difficult question. Does she remember who kidnapped her? Hiori attempts to recall the event, but a sharp pain shoots through her head. She drops to her knees, clutching her skull. She tells them she cannot remember anything. It feels like that specific part of her mind has been painted over. Liad tells her not to force it, but internally his expression darkens. He realizes that while the immediate danger is over, someone with clearly nefarious intentions still lurks within the academy. The next day, Liad and Kanan arrive at the classroom early, finding it completely empty. Liad remarks that they seem to be the first ones there, but internally he is tense, his mind replaying the events of yesterday. He recalls encountering Muria in the hallway after the rescue. His mother had hugged him tightly, thanking him for protecting everyone and for relying on an adult for help. She acknowledged his immense strength, but reminded him gently that he is still just a child and shouldn't push himself too hard. Liad had realized that to her, he is currently just her son. He apologized for worrying her, admitting there was something he wanted to investigate. He explained his deduction. The perpetrator knew about the ogre god, classified information within the Oni Empire. This implied the enemy was well acquainted with imperial internal affairs and would likely target another princess soon. Muria had assured him she would handle the investigation and use her position at the academy to protect the students' peace, urging him to rest for now. Back in the present, Liad sits at his desk. Kanan asks if he is okay, worried he might still be exhausted. Liad assures her he is fine thanks to her healing magic, but he privately wonders about Princess Hiori. It is the day after a traumatic event, and he worries she might be feeling down. Just then, Hiori bursts into the room, shouting excitedly to her guards that she is number one. She is so energetic that Liad is amazed. When she spots him, she gets flustered, realizing he arrived even earlier. Hiori explains she was too excited to wait for Suseri, who had morning training. Liad expresses relief that she is feeling well. Hiori blushes and holds his hand, reminding him that he promised to help her if she had any problems. She says she is new to this and will be counting on him. Liad is flustered by the contact. Kanan, sensing a rival, interjects quickly, offering her own assistance with healing magic. Hiori, undeterred, grabs Kanan's hand too, nodding enthusiastically. She whispers to Kanan that it has always been her dream to gossip about love. Kanan is taken aback by her pure enthusiasm. Erisiel, the holy princess, arrives next. She offers a polite greeting to Hiori, noting they missed the gathering yesterday. She glances at Liad, hinting she suspects something happened, but chooses not to pry to avoid causing a ruckus with Aurelis. She advises them to act as if they had seen the other princesses take the stage. Hiori, touched by her consideration, grabs Erisiel's hand and thanks her profusely. Erisiel is shocked by the physical affection, but murmurs that if only the other princesses were as pure as her, life would be easier. Suddenly, the beast princesses, Yuzuriha and Kuzunoha, enter the room, having overheard the comment. They sniff Hiori, noting that her scent is different. The scary smell is weaker than usual. Hiori worries she smells weird, but the twins assure her they like the current her. Kuzunoha adds mischievously that she also detects Liad's scent on her. Liad panics internally. Aurelis, the demon princess, enters next, complaining about the morning ruckus. Hiori immediately marches up to her, grabbing her hand and introducing herself warmly. Liad thinks that her method of closing the distance is perhaps a bit too sudden. Professor Siaba enters, surprised to see everyone so early. He asks Liad to accompany him to pick up class materials. As they prepare to leave, Siaba mentions they haven't decided on the other class representative yet. This sparks a sudden competition. Aurelis realizes becoming the representative would give her a chance to be with Liad during duty hours. Erisiel argues she is the most appropriate candidate. The beast princesses tease her for being too strict. Unexpectedly, Ryonea, the dragon princess, volunteers, bluntly stating she wants to learn more about Liad. The class erupts into chaos as everyone vies for the position. Aurelis turns to Kanan, placing a hand on her shoulder. She declares that Kanan will be the judge to decide who is worthy of standing beside His Excellency. Kanan freaks out, mentally crying for help as the situation spirals out of control. The classroom descends into an argument as the princesses decide to settle who is most worthy of being the female class representative. Meanwhile, Hiori settles into her seat to watch. Neo chides her, advising her not to take part in such a foolish conflict. Raksha adds that she should avoid stress, but Hiori waves them off. She declares that this is practically a battle for Liad's love, and she intends to watch it from a VIP seat. Her guards sigh, realizing that while she is better, she is now going off the rails in a completely different direction. Aurelis takes the floor first. She argues that since she and His Excellency have crossed swords, only someone who understands him on that level can perform group work with him properly. One of the beast princesses retorts that she only fought him because she pestered him into it. Aurelis' own guards whisper among themselves. One points out that while the defeat was humiliating, becoming class rep would give her a chance for victory. However, another guard raises a concern. Being a representative might cut into Her Highness's daily self-care time. Aurelis overhears this and freezes. She is torn between wanting to be with Liad and maintaining her beauty routine to remain worthy of him. Seeing her hesitation, the beast princesses jump in. They claim that since Aurelis is conflicted, they should do it instead to ensure a free and fun class. Erisiel asks which one of them is the candidate. The twins whisper to each other before declaring that both of them will be the candidate. Erisiel points out the obvious. There is only room for one representative, which is the whole reason for this conflict. The beast princesses hold hands, insisting that the two of them count as one person. Aurelis laughs, mocking them by saying that if they only add up to one person together then apart, they are only half a person each. Frustrated, the twins turn to their bodyguard Rukin, demanding he back them up. However, Erisiel coldly states that if they cannot follow simple rules, their work as representatives will likely be sloppy. Rukin trembles under the Holy Princess's gaze and refuses to go against the rules, earning him the title of traitor from the twins. Hiori, acting as a commentator, remarks that she didn't expect the demon princess to drop out first. Kanan sighs, lamenting that her brother is a sinful man. Hiori asks if Kanan isn't going to participate. teasing that someone might steal her brother. Kanan declines, smugly noting that she has him all to herself outside of class anyway. This sparks Hiori's curiosity and she begs for details. With the others out, only Ryunea and Erisiel remain as final candidates. Erisiel expresses surprise, noting she thought the Dragon Princess had no interest in such matters. Ryunea bluntly replies that she is only interested in Liad because he is a new tool, and she doesn't sense the strength to stand above others from anyone else in the room. Erisiel counters that a representative must unite the class, a role unsuited for someone as uncooperative as Ryunea. Ryunea shoots back, accusing Erisiel of acting pure and righteous, only because she binds herself with rules to maintain her human pretense. Insulted, Erisiel's guards step forward to defend the dignity of the Holy Empire. The Beast Princesses mock Erisiel for relying on others to get angry for her. The argument escalates until Aurelius shouts that bickering will reflect poorly in His Highness's eyes. The Beast Princesses retort that it's rich coming from the girl who challenged him to a duel. Just as the chaos peaks, Suseri enters the room carrying a stack of files. Hiori greets her happily, noting she finished training. Suseri explains she ran into Liad and Professor Siaba on the way and helped them carry the materials. Aurelius complains that Suseri is interrupting their selection process. Suseri is confused, pointing out that if they wanted to be the representative, they should have been helping Liad instead of waiting around arguing. The room falls silent. The Beast Princesses admit that Aurelius's ruckus made them forget that simple fact. Erisiel admits Suseri has a point. It was thoughtless of them. Ryunea concludes that this means Suseri, who actually took action, wins by default. The Beast Princesses agree she seems appropriate for the role. Hiori cheers, congratulating Suseri. The human princess stands there, bewildered, asking what in the world is going on. Liad enters a moment later, asking Kanan if something happened. She tells him it's all settled. Suseri's guard smirks, wishing he had seen the drama. Erisiel notes it is rare for everyone to accept the same outcome. Aurelius, trying to save face, claims that after careful consideration, the role sounds like too much work. The Beast Princesses agree, deciding they can just play with Liad some other time. Suseri realizes they are just too lazy to do the work. Later, Liad officially appoints Suseri as the female class representative. She accepts, blushing slightly as they agree to do their best to improve the class together. Aurelius immediately slides between them, trying to sign up for classes with Liad. Watching Liad engage with everyone, Suseri thinks to herself that he is truly beloved by all. She clenches her fist in resolution, vowing to become more like him.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand,